Hey everybody, I'm Van Richards and welcome to the Retirement Learning Lab. Today, I want to start with something, well, it might surprise you just a little bit. I want to talk about retirement and Social Security from a biblical perspective. Now, as you listen to this today, let me know if this is the type of content that you like. I'm here to help you. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. To begin this discussion, let's look at some common approaches to retirement that many faithful people take. You see, Christians usually take one of four different approaches when it comes to retirement. Let's look at these together and then you could see if one of them actually describes you. First off, there are those people out there that think that God has absolutely nothing to do with retirement. There's faith and there's finances, and the two should remain absolutely separate. Second, there are those who think that retirement, God has nothing to do with it. It's not even a biblical concept. It's a modern invention. Then third, there are those who believe that God does have something to do with retirement, but they're not quite sure what that looks like. And then fourth, there are those that know that God guides every step that they take, but they're open to a little bit of help. No matter where you are on this spectrum, if you're a Christian and you're approaching or you're in retirement, you're going to be able to benefit from this information. Here's what I've discovered from the Bible and what it actually says about retirement. Many of the English versions of the Bible use the word retire in the book of Numbers. It's the only place. Verses 8:23 through 26. Look it up. But they use it to refer to reassignment of a stage of life rather than disengagement. Now, I don't want to get too bogged down in the details, but I think that it's going to be valuable if we take a brief, very brief look at the origin of the word retire that's in the Bible, because it's going to be helpful in our discussions today. The original Hebrew uses the verb yashuv, which means to return or to turn back. Not retire in the modern sense of stopping work entirely. If you read this passage in the book of Numbers, it tells you about a group that's called the Levites. Now, the Levites served from the age of 25 in the meeting tent, and that was a place where God actually met with Moses. And God told Moses that when the Levites turned 50, their duties were to change. But here's the crucial point. God didn't tell Moses that the Levites were to stop serving altogether as they got older. God told Moses that their duties were to shift from labor to legacy. You see, God recognized that man's physical capacity changes with age. Of course he does. He made man. But he didn't eliminate the Levite service. He redirected it. The older men's value shifted from physical strength to wisdom and experience. Throughout Scripture, you can see that older followers of God didn't retire in the sense of leaving work entirely. Instead of retirement as it's viewed today, they actually just changed how they directed themselves. In the book of Titus, the Apostle Paul is writing to a younger apprentice, Titus. Paul tells Titus that older believers should model godliness and share wisdom with younger generations. Now, in telling you this, what I want to do today is to take that biblical framework and to show you how that you can use it to make better decisions about your Social Security. You see, as we get older, our life changes, our roles shift, our pace slows down just a little bit, but our purpose, that remains. Today, we're going to talk about Social Security, not as a government benefit that you're actually entitled to, but a tool, a provision, and I'm going to use that word a lot, a provision, a way that God equips us to continue serving, giving, and living with intention in this season of our life. Whether you're called to mentor families, volunteer at your church, support missions, care for aging parents, or just seeking peace with your daily walk with God, this resource, our discussion today, can help you to steward your time, your talents, and your treasures for eternal impact. If you're in your 60s approaching what the world calls retirement, you're not approaching an ending. You're approaching a new lap in the race. And just like any good runner, you're going to need the right equipment, the right strategy, and the right fuel. Let me share with you what I see when I see people in their 60s, their 70s, their 80s, and yes, even their 90s, those who are running the race well. I have a friend who's a grandfather who talks to his grandchildren every single day, sharing his values and his wisdom. I see a retired business owner who uses her expertise to help guide struggling nonprofits, helping them to thrive. I know a retired educator who teaches GED classes, giving adults a second chance at education. I see retired couples helping their local communities, using their skills and their resources to serve others. These aren't people who have retired from life. They're people who have been freed up and fired up for a deeper purpose in life. God's word promises that we can bear fruit in every season. But here's the practical reality. Fruit bearing requires resources. Time, yes. Energy, absolutely. But also a financial margin that allows us to say yes to what God is calling us toward. This is where Social Security becomes more than just a monthly check. It becomes fuel for the race, equipment for the journey, and provision, that word again, provision for the purpose. And that's why you'll hear me say that word provision with Social Security very often. But like any tool, it's how you use it that actually matters. Let's talk about how this provision actually works, because understanding it will give you confidence in your decisions about how to use it. We all know that confidence brings peace. Now, I need to make something very clear, though. The eligibility rules we're talking about are only for Social Security retirement, not Social Security disability benefits or SSI. Those benefits have a completely different set of rules. To be eligible for Social Security retirement income, you have to have at least 40 quarters of eligibility. That's 10 years. And then by the time that you get to the age that you can collect your Social Security retirement income, it's going to be based off of your 35 highest earning years. Think of it like a reservoir that's been filling up throughout your working life. Every year you've served, you've contributed, and you've built value. But here's where stewardship and strategy are going to intersect. Let's stick with that reservoir analogy. But rather than building it up, let's talk about how to use it. Now your reservoir has three main levels. The first level is claiming at 62. At this level, you can begin to receive your income if you're eligible, but you're going to receive a permanently reduced benefit, about 70 to 75% of your full amount. And an important thing to remember about claiming early is that if you are still working and you exceed specific income limits, you may be forced to delay your income until you earn less or you reach your full retirement age. Now then, there's level 2. Claim your full retirement age. This is an important one. At this level, you'll receive 100% of your earned benefit regardless of any income that you earn. For most of you that are listening or watching, that's going to be either 66 in some months, or 67, depending on when you were born. Then there's level 3, delay until your age of 70. If you do that, you'll receive 132% of your full benefit. That's about a third more than your full retirement age amount. Now, if you have income in other sources, this is a consideration that you need to really think hard about. We'll talk more about why in just a moment. Now, let me put this into some real numbers for you. If your full retirement age benefit is, let's say, $2,000, but you want to claim it early at 62, that's going to give you about $1,500 a month. If you wait until age 70, it's going to give you about $2,640 a month. That's a $1,140 difference every month for the rest of your life. Now, which option to choose is kind of like choosing your pace in a marathon. You can start drawing early and you get a steady but smaller provision for potentially more years. If you wait and you get a larger provision for fewer years, you may have more impact for generosity and for giving. And if you're married, it's important that you listen to this. Your choices are going to create a legacy. Your spouse can receive up to 50% of your benefit while you're both living, and up to 100% if they outlive you. Now, these aren't just numbers. They're provision for the person that you have actually committed to love and to protect. This isn't just about you now. It's about your calling together. Now, let me share some common hurdles that I see a lot of people face in this part of the race. Now, I'm not here to criticize, but to help you to get a clear understanding so that you can make decisions with greater confidence. The first hurdle that I see is a myth that it's pretty common nowadays, especially with a lot of what's going on in the world and what you hear in politics and on social media. I hear a lot of people say this: I should claim my benefit at 62. Many people claim early out of fear for the money that it won't be there, fear that the government's going to make changes, fear that they're not going to live very long. But friends, let me tell you this. God hasn't called us to live from a place of fear. When Paul was writing to Timothy in 2 Timothy 1:7, he said, "For God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." If God has given you health and other resources, claiming early might mean that you're going to leave hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table, resources that could be fuel for decades of ministry and generosity. Just a consideration. Here's the second hurdle that I see. There are those people that say, it's just government money. It doesn't really make a difference. This provision represents decades of your labor, your service, your contribution, and most importantly, your God's faithfulness to you to get you through this. Stewarding it well isn't being greedy, it's being faithful to God. Now, hurdle number 3, my spouse's choices don't really affect me. Friends, in marriage, your Social Security strategy should work in harmony. The timing of when each spouse claims can affect your combined lifetime provision by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Money that could support ministry, help children and your grandchildren, or provide long-term care for your spouse. And then the fourth hurdle that I see, I have to figure all this out on my own. Let me bring you to your attention Proverbs 15:22. Without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. God designed us for community. Seeking wise counsel honors Him and protects you from costly mistakes. Let me share some kingdom principles that can guide you on how to approach your Social Security provision. Principle number 1, faithful stewardship. It requires patient planning. Remember in Luke 14:28, Jesus says, "For which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it?" You see, Jesus taught us to plan thoughtfully. If you're healthy and you have other income and a sense of God calling you to continue to work or in ministry, waiting until 70 for Social Security might maximize your lifetime provision. That's an 8% guaranteed increase every single year after your full retirement age. You can't get that anyplace else. But if you have health concerns or immediate ministry opportunities or family needs, claiming early might be the faithful choice that you need to take. The key question is this: what is God calling you to do in this season of your life? Then principle number 2, integration, not isolation. What I mean by this is your Social Security shouldn't stand alone. You need to see how it flows together with your other resources and your other needs, your 401k and your IRA withdrawals, your pension, your part-time income. Perhaps you have ministry compensation. Perhaps you need health care. Perhaps you need to plan for your legacy to take care of your spouse. Think of it like a river system. Every stream contributes to the whole, and timing matters for maximum impact. Then there's principle number 3, generosity and legacy. That brings me to 2 Corinthians 9:11. When Paul was writing to those in Corinth, and he said, "You will be enriched in every way to be generous in every way, which through us will produce thanksgiving to God." Maximizing your Social Security isn't about accumulating wealth. It's about increasing your capacity for kingdom impact. Higher lifetime benefits could do these things. It could give you greater security for your spouse, more resources for supporting ministry, reduced financial burden on your children, increased ability to be generous to your church or to callings that you have, freedom to say yes to God's callings to you. And then principle number 4, wisdom seeks counsel. We've talked about this just a little bit, but it's so important. Don't make dumb mistakes, friends. And I say that because I've seen people make them. Proverbs 19:20 says, "Listen to the advice and accept instruction that you may gain wisdom in the future." Now, it doesn't have to be my wisdom. There's lots of wise people out there that you can look to for advice. Don't try to do this on your own. It can be too complicated. The question isn't what gives me the most money. It's what decision best supports the calling God has on this season of my life. Now, some of you are called to keep working. That's okay. Some of you are called to change careers and to delay Social Security to maximize your provision. Others are called to step into full-time ministry or caregiving and need to claim their benefits right now. Both can be faithful stewardship. The key is seeking God's heart for your specific situation and stewarding accordingly. And how do you seek God's heart? Prayer. Now, I'm going to give you a few ideas about this in just a moment. Let me share some biblical truths that can guide you in your Social Security decision. God provides for the journey. Your Social Security provision is part of God's supply system. He's been preparing this for you throughout your working life. Trust Him with the timing and the outcomes. Wise planning does honor God. Remember Proverbs 21:5, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." Taking time to understand your options, model different scenarios, and make informed decisions isn't worldly. It's biblical wisdom. God gave you a mind to think and resources to steward. Use them both wisely. Your race does have an eternal impact. Your Social Security strategy should ultimately serve your ability to finish the race of life well. How might maximizing these benefits enable you to have greater generosity? How might it free you up for deeper ministry? How might it provide for your spouse's continued calling? Friends, here's what I want you to remember. God is not worried about your Social Security decision. He's not in heaven wringing his hands, wondering what that Mary, Bill, or Joe are going to choose. He's doing this. He's inviting you into a partnership to use wisdom, seek counsel, pray for guidance, and trust Him with what you can't control. This isn't about finding mathematically the optimal choice. It's about making faithful decisions with the life that you have and trusting God's heart towards you. So, How do you move forward as a faithful steward of this provision? I've got a few ideas for you. Here's step number one. Gather your intelligence. Create your Social Security account at ssa.gov and review your earnings history. Knowledge is the foundation of good stewardship. Step number two, model your options. Use the Social Security calculator that's at that site to see how different claiming strategies affect your lifetime provision. Look at the cumulative totals through ages 85, 90, and 95, not just the monthly amount. You need to be realistic also about your health concerns. If you have health concerns and need to claim early, that's an important consideration. Remember, after being raised from the dead, even Lazarus did not live forever. And then step number three, consider your whole calling. How does Social Security fit in with your other resources and your sense of calling in retirement? What ministry opportunities are calling you? And don't forget this, what family responsibilities do you carry? When the Apostle Paul was writing to the younger Timothy to teach him what Jesus taught him, he said this, "But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, especially for the members of his own household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." In step number four, we've talked about this before, friends, seek kingdom-minded counsel. Find advisors who understand both the technical aspects and the biblical stewardship principles. Talk to other believers who've navigated these decisions well. And then finally, step number five, perhaps the most important one, pray and trust. After gathering information and seeking counsel, bring your decisions before the Lord. Ask for wisdom and peace and confidence in His continued provision. Folks, as we close, I want to remind you of this truth. Your value to God's kingdom doesn't decrease with age. It often increases. You have wisdom, experience, resources, and time that can be uniquely powerful for His purposes. Your Social Security provision is one of the ways that God is equipping you to run the next lap in the race of life with strength, with purpose, and with impact. Whether you claim at age 62 or 70, or whether you maximize every dollar or make choices to prioritize calling over cash, you're loved, you're held, and you are provided for by a God who sees the full race of your life, not just this moment. Your calling in this season isn't to slow down spiritually. It's to run with wisdom and the resources that God has provided. And your Social Security provision, it's fuel for the race. If you want to explore how these principles apply to your specific situation, I'm offering free clarity sessions for the individuals and couples who have listened or have viewed this particular broadcast. Simply email me at van@richardsfinancialplanning.com. Now, I'm also inviting you to join our faith-driven finance community on Facebook. It's a group of believers who are navigating this season together, supporting each other with both practical wisdom and spiritual encouragement. Now, you can find us at www.facebook.com/faith-driven-finance. Maybe you're not ready for community yet. That's okay. Maybe you need to start just with you and God. If that's where you are, I've created something special for you, a Social Security discernment prayer guide using the ancient practice of the examen. Now, this is a prayer method which was developed by St. Ignatius of Loyola over 500 years ago, and it's been adapted specifically for Social Security decisions. Now, this 30-minute guided prayer experience will help you to bring your decisions directly to God, listening for His wisdom and direction for your unique situation. Now, when you go through this, I'm going to give you the website in just a second. There's nothing that's recorded. You don't need to give anything. This is for you and to help you with your communication, with your prayers with God. Now, you can access this resource for free at discernment.faithdrivenfinance.com. That's discernment, discernment.faithdrivenfinance, altogether.com. I'll put it into the comments below or into the show notes, let's say. Remember this, God cares more about your heart than your Social Security strategy. He's more concerned with you trusting Him than in your timing. Whatever decision that you make in faith and prayer, He will honor and use for His purpose. Thank you for joining me today on the Retirement Learning Lab. If this message has encouraged you, please like and subscribe so that you can be notified when the next episode is available. And consider sharing it with a friend who might benefit from these biblical insights about life's transitions. Until next time, may you steward well and run with God's purpose for your entire life.